It's tormented me my entire life. Ever since I can remember, I've always been terrified in my own house. I live in a small town in Pennsylvania, and my house was one of the first built here. My house was a farmhouse, and where the majority of houses are now used to be the farm. When I was younger, I used to have these night terrors about this shadow figure standing in the corner of my room watching me as I slept. Sometimes in the dream, he would lead me into my other room, and I would look at the closet and it would be surrounded by darkness. I just knew he was in there. I would be absolutely terrified and I would wake up screaming. I have two rooms that connect. My bed is in one and the other one is a playroom. Every once in a while, I'd be playing my video games and I would be overwhelmed with fear. The feeling someone was watching me was so strong I had to leave the room. When I was about 11 or 12 years old, my parents started to fight all the time. There was a lot of tension in the house. A little after that all started was the first time I saw her. I was laying at the bottom of the stairs looking up, and I see this old lady in a long white dress and very short hair walk across the landing into my room. But the strange thing was, I wasn't afraid of her. The next week I explained to my mom what I saw. Her mouth dropped, and she told me that is what the woman who used to live in the house looked like. She had short gray hair because she had cancer, and the dress was because she was a nurse back in the day. A little after this is when stuff started to get bad. The nightmares about the figures got worse, and the stuff started to move around. I'd be trying to go to bed, and I hear things flying across my other room. One day, I had the door cracked, and I watched a fold-up chair fly across the room. One night, I was trying to sleep, and I kept hearing the closet door slamming over and over again in the other room. I told myself it was just the wind, until I heard tools fly across the room from the tool chest I had next to the closet. After that, I slept on the floor of my parents' room for about a year, and I could not sleep without earplugs. My parents finally made up and decided to stay together. My grandmother moved in with us when I was about 15 years old. One night, we were all at the dinner table and my mother was talking, and she just stopped dead in her tracks and looked up and said, "Do you guys feel that?" As soon as she said that, the temperature of the room dropped, and a black figure I had nightmares about walked behind her. It walked past everyone, and as it walked by me, it touched my shoulder. I ran outside so fast, no one saw it but me. I don't understand that at all. Then one night we were sleeping, and my mom just started screaming. We rushed into her room and she was terrified. She said that a man was standing at the foot of her bed. After everyone stopped fighting, it seemed like things calmed down. Nothing really happened for a while. I thought maybe it was gone. Boy, was I wrong. I finally got a girlfriend when I was 19 years old, and she stays with me every night at my house. About 5 months after she moves in, we were taking a nap. She started screaming, and I woke her up. She looked at me and just started crying. She said she saw a guy standing in the corner of the room watching us sleep. After that, stuff started happening again, except this time it's really bad. She had that dream almost every night for a month. Then a week after she started those dreams, my grandmother started to get sick. We have a picture of her downstairs on a stand. Every single day for 2 months, we would get home from work and her picture would be propped up against the bottom of the stand. Eventually, the frame broke, so we put it away. A week after it broke, my grandmother was diagnosed with cancer. The day she was diagnosed, another picture of her in the living room came off the wall. It landed about 5 feet from where it was hanging. There was nothing wrong with the frame and the nail was still in the wall. None of the other pictures fell, but hers. One morning I was leaving for work. I walk downstairs and I go past the bathroom my dad always uses. The door is at a crack and I saw what looked like my dad out of the bathroom mirror. I say goodbye, Dad, and he just grunts at me. I didn't think anything of it until I got to our driveway and realized my dad had already left for work a while ago. We used to have a large clock that hung up in the kitchen. One day the clock stopped. We didn't bother with it for a while. A week after it stopped, Pope John Paul died. When we decided to fix the clock a few weeks later, we realized the clock stopped on the exact second of when the Pope died. That was a pretty strange coincidence. We have 2 large dogs, a purebred German Shepherd and a Shar Pei. They've been acting so strange. They keep hiding when no one is even home. Sometimes my German Shepherd will start barking for no reason at all. One day we were in the kitchen and all of a sudden the Shepherd slams into the back of my legs. I saw it out of the corner of my eye. It looked as if someone shoved him very hard, and he took off running upstairs and hid. Someday we'll be sitting in my room and someone will start pounding on my bedroom door and start shaking it. Then I realize no one's home. All the time my girl and I will be in our room and we hear someone come up the stairs and walk around upstairs when no one is home but us. And my grandmother is very sick and she can barely walk. The German Shepherd is constantly with us no matter what. He never leaves my side. I am so glad I have him because whenever I think something is up, I look at him and if he is scared, then I'm scared. I know he sees things that I can't. Because I'm so close to that dog, I know what he is thinking. The Shar Pei will not go upstairs. He is too scared. One day I was at work and my girl was home alone. She calls me in a panic. She was crying and I asked what's wrong. She replies, I saw her. I never went into detail about the old woman I saw. She explains exactly what she looked like. She kept saying to me that the woman was in so much pain. She saw every detail about her. When she saw her, she got overwhelmed with sadness just like I did. We feel like we just want to help her move on. We constantly hear the old woman trying to speak to us. It's never threatening. It's like she wants us to know she's there. Just a simple hey, but most of the time we can't make out what she is trying to say. We also hear a male's voice. His voice is definitely threatening. He's called our names a few times in the past. I feel it's like there's 2 spirits in the house, the bad one and the old woman. Sometimes out of nowhere, I get this really strong feeling that there is someone in the room with me. Or when I am leaving for work, it feels like something is just pushing me out. The terror I feel is so indescribably strong. I almost get sick to my stomach. And I just start crying because I am so scared. But when we feel the woman, it's just sadness. My grandmother had to go to the hospital for a few weeks. Things stopped happening while she was gone. We prayed a lot and we actually thought it was gone. The day my grandmother came back was the worst night I think I ever had. That day, my girl and I were talking about how we think it's gone. That night made me fear for the worst. We all lay down and I fell asleep. In the middle of the night, my girl woke me up and told me something was pulling her leg. I was so tired from working, I just kissed her and fell back asleep. A couple minutes after that, I was woken up with a loud shout in my ear. It was a male voice and he said, "I'm here." I opened my eyes and looked up at my dog. Then I heard something run across the foot of my bed and into the other room. The door to the other room flew open. I could tell my dog was absolutely terrified. It looked like he was in shock. He was just sitting up staring and he wouldn't look away from the corner of the room. I looked into the other room and I have a light between 2 rooms and it has to be on or I cannot sleep. I knew it was in the other room. It was so abnormally dark in there. I have never been that scared in my life. It felt like my life was endangered. I could not fall back asleep at all. A few minutes later, we went into the other room to smoke a cigarette. I looked at my phone to check the time. It was 3 a.m. We finally lay back down, and 20 minutes later, I feel something touch my back. I immediately knew something was off about it, but it kept sliding its fingers down my back. It did it 3 times. First, I was going to say, "Babe, please tell me that's you." Then I quickly realized I was spooning her. A few nights later, I had this dream of being possessed. I have never felt more of a real dream in my life. The dream started exactly how I was laying. The room looked different, but I thought I was still awake. I looked at the corner and there it was. I immediately thought I had to run into the room and grab my holy water. I tried getting up, but he took control of me. I heard it laughing, and I started screaming. Then everything started to go dark. Thank God my girlfriend woke me up. The next night we were laying down and guess what? I heard that laugh coming from the other room. My girlfriend, me, and my dad were in the kitchen one night when my girlfriend jumps and says her leg burns. We went upstairs and I looked at it. Nothing was there. It was completely fine. A few moments later I looked again and she had 3 scratch marks on her legs as if a kid ran up and grabbed her. A few nights after that, we were home alone. We hear what sounds like a child playing. coming up, running up the stairs, and it ran up around stairs. It did not go back downstairs, though, those sounds. Then after a few minutes later, one of the dogs was chasing something around downstairs. Things constantly disappear and reappear in the strangest of places. I will lose my phone and call it over and over again, search the house, and nothing. Then a few moments later, call it again, and it starts ringing in the room right next to me. Another time, I was getting a shower, and out of the corner of my eye, I see a shadow run by. I look at it, and it's not right next to me. I saw it through the shower curtain. I'm looking right at it. Then it just takes off, and it's gone. We sometimes see a figure run across the yard at nighttime. Every once in a while, the dogs will refuse to go outside or refuse to go inside a room. Also, everyone has mood swings that just aren't natural. My grandmother's being the worst. She was always very nice, but now I've never met a more hateful person. It seems like the more she gets sick, the more stuff happens. I'm afraid of what's to come. The strangest thing about all of this is in the past year when everything started happening in my house. In the neighborhood, 4 houses burnt down, 3 burnt within 2 months. My cousin committed suicide just a few blocks over, and 2 older women died for no reason.